Brent Porcio, TopVelocity.net. I'm going to do a pitching analysis here. Trey, you're going to pair him up with Bob Wheatley. Coming out of leg lift. Both of them in a similar leg lift. I'd say Bob starting a little bit earlier, leading through the hips. You can see he really carries good momentum coming out of leg lift. We can see Trey coming out of leg lift. I'd say similar, carrying momentum. Bob's keeping a more vertical trunk, leaning into a very ipsilateral position, puts it in a place where it's hard to open that hip or drive that hip. It will delay. It can help delay hip rotation, but also it can force internal rotation though of the back leg. So it can kind of force collapsing of the back leg, but it does delay rotation. Problem is unfortunately the correction is to pull back to glove side, which forces more rotation in the trunk. So trying to get in a more vertical trunk position is going to be ideal as you build momentum towards the target. You can see here with Bob, he opens and drives into front foot strike, and you can see good hip to shoulder separation into front foot strike. You can see Trey into front foot strike. You don't see as much power out of the back leg drive or force hitting front foot, and you see Trey, I like how his trunk is back. Bob, I would say, is a little bit more perfectly in line, hip to trunk. Trey's more back, and his arm's a little later in cocking, but here you can see even the glove pulling a little bit early into that position. I'd say even Bob's glove is probably even a little bit early. But here's the thing, a trunk position where it's farther back gives it more room to really go forward, which is what we want. But the problem is, because this leg looks like it didn't push out a lot of power, it looks like he's kind of stuck back here. A lot of weight behind that front leg and not enough momentum, so we're probably not going to see a lot of that energy carry forward. As you see with Bob, he gets a good amount of trunk to go forward, and you can see here with Trey, you're not getting a lot of trunk going forward. So it's like it's good to have the trunk back at front foot, but there's not enough momentum behind it, then we're not going to really use that, benefit from that position and carry a lot more trunk forward. So you can see with Bob here, he's about 15 degrees farther forward at pitch release, and we know the trunk is a good predictor of ball velocity. And then from there, Bob at pitch release even gets some front leg extension, and you can see Trey doesn't get front leg extension once again because a lot of his weight was stuck behind the front side. So that's the thing. We do want to load things back. We want to keep the trunk from going early forward or in rotation. But if we don't get enough momentum into front foot to really carry that trunk forward like we see with Bob here, then we're not going to get the real result. So it's like putting the whip in a position to really get the full use of the whip, but then not moving enough power through it to really take advantage of that. It's not going to produce the results we want. So I think with Trey here, Trey just needs to be a lot more, keep the trunk more vertical at this position, focus on more momentum, definitely more power through triple extension of the back leg, so we can get more energy pushing into front foot and transferring trunk into front foot. And you see someone like Bob. Bob was like a 225, 235 guy. You're going to need to gain a lot more mass to really keep up with him. So if you're moving similar to him, but he's carrying more mass at the same speed, he's going to be throwing harder than you. So you could carry, looks like in this position there's some areas where he's going faster than you, and he's probably considerably heavier than you. So definitely something you need to work on. But as far as vector angles, I think your back leg force vector here gets linear. Like I said, just needs the trunk up into front foot, a good front leg position, good trunk position orientation, just not enough energy to carry it forward. Because of that, you get a little hyperangulation, elbow behind the back, mainly because your arm was really late to cock here. So you're probably too late to cock your arm. Your arm probably needs to be up a little bit earlier like Bob's there. And then your arm doesn't really lay back because of that. Remember, too, if the elbow is pulling too far into a lot of the range of motion is going into to horizontal induction, not into external rotation. So that should even help getting more external rotation. You get good internal rotation, but it might help a little bit more layback, because if we get more layback specifically here, then we have more chance to travel more trunk forward, but we still need more momentum to do that. And at the end, you definitely could get some front leg drive, front leg extension, but you're still in a good linear front leg position. You're even in a good closed orientation here. So I think everything really looks good, to be honest, except for the trunk position initially, and just we need a lot more power, moving your momentum, accelerating your body forward.